and it may be more beneficial for us to stop supplies to the European market right now, to move to those markets that are opening up and establish ourselves there.
Putin threatens to stop gas supplies to EU early amid war in Iran. Iran strikes Azerbaijan for the first time. Drone hits Nakhchivan International Airport. And how NATO may act together against Iran under Article 5. Daily's news next. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin is attempting to use the war in Iran to try to push the European Union to reconsider its plans to phase out Russian gas. Reported by Russian Telegram channel Agentstvo Novosti. Putin said Moscow could stop supplying gas to the EU before the Union introduces its planned restrictions. He had earlier claimed that Russia was prepared to resume supplies at any time.
The EU, had its plan to introduce restrictions on the purchase of Russian gas, including liquefied gas, in a month and then in a year's time, in 2027. New restrictions up to a complete ban. But now other markets are opening up, and it may be more beneficial for us to stop supplies to the European market right now, to move to those markets that are opening up and establish ourselves there.
The Kremlin leader described this not as a decision but as thinking out loud while promising to instruct the Russian government to examine the issue together with companies. Commenting on the situation in energy markets caused by the war in Iran, Putin said he is confident that American companies will leave the European market for places where they pay more. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte told Newsmax that there is broad support among alliance members for President Donald Trump's campaign targeting Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities, according to Newsmax. About support without formal participation, according to Rutte, NATO is not directly involved in the operation. NATO is not involved, he stressed on the record with Greta Van Susteren.
But obviously allies are basically in a massive scale are supportive of what the president is doing and are also enabling what the US is doing now in the region, taking out its nuclear capability of Iran and, of course, the missile capability.
He said that European states share concerns about Tehran's actions, including threats and assassination attempts linked to the Iranian regime. Mark Rutte said, "Here in Europe, we know the impact of Iran and the negative impact they can have," mentioning risks for the Iranian diaspora and threats directed at the Netherlands. About NATO security guarantees, commenting on the situation, Secretary General Mark Rutte assured that the alliance protects its territory. "We make sure that we can defend and will defend every inch of territory of NATO," he said. As an example, he cited an incident involving a missile threat toward Turkey that was neutralized by the alliance's missile defense systems. Rutte also spoke about Article 5 of the NATO treaty, noting that its activation is intentionally kept somewhat undefined.
For good reasons, we always will stay very ambiguous about when Article 5 is triggered. If it is triggered, we will always immediately let everybody know.
Regional partner contacts. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said he maintains constant contact with partners in the Middle East, including the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. He said NATO is ready to help ensure their security amid ongoing attacks in the region. Israeli intelligence reportedly received information about possible contacts between the US and Iran regarding a ceasefire. After these signals emerged, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly asked the White House to clarify the situation. According to reports, Israel fears a scenario in which Washington could agree to a truce before all military objectives set by Israel are achieved. The US Senate is preparing a preliminary vote aimed at limiting President Donald Trump's authority to carry out new strikes against Iran. China will send a special envoy to the Middle East to mediate in the conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran in an effort to prevent further escalation of tensions in the region, states Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, according to the Times of Israel. About details of Beijing's initiative, during a conversation with his Saudi counterpart, Prince Faisal bin For Han, China's top diplomat stressed that Beijing is ready to play a constructive role in achieving a peaceful settlement. China will send a special envoy on Middle East issues to regional countries for mediation, Wang Yi said. At this stage, the Chinese side has not disclosed the name of the diplomat or the exact list of countries he plans to visit. Beijing is urging all parties to refrain from using force.
China strongly urges all parties to return to dialogue and negotiations as soon as possible and prevent the further escalation of tensions.
Wang Yi emphasized that China supports Iran's sovereignty while also calling on the United States and Israel to halt their strikes. According to the minister, Beijing consistently acts as a force for peace in such confrontations. China's position on the escalation in the Middle East. Official Beijing has repeatedly expressed concern over the situation in the region. Earlier, Chinese authorities described Israel's strikes on Iranian territory as unacceptable and called for an immediate ceasefire. Later, Beijing's rhetoric somewhat shifted, with China issuing a new statement emphasizing the need for all parties to adhere to international law. In addition, amid the threat of a large-scale war, reports have emerged about the possible blocking of the Strait of Hormuz, which could critically affect global oil supplies. Beijing also sharply responded to threats by US President Donald Trump to punish countries that maintain economic ties with Tehran, stressing the inadmissibility of unilateral sanctions. Ukraine possesses exceptional combat experience in intercepting Iranian Shahed drones and is ready to share it with partners, but it will not send its troops to participate in the mission in the Middle East, according to the Deputy Chief of the Defense Intelligence, Vadim Skibitsky.
We have the expertise to understand from which direction, when, and at what time they launch the Shaheds, and along what route they fly. This is the practical experience of our military in interception.
He stressed that effective defense against such threats is based on the comprehensive interaction of various means.
Ukrainian air defense relies on multi-layered coordination, from mobile fire groups to anti-aircraft missile systems and electronic warfare assets. All of this must operate in complex incorporation, rather than as a separate type of weapon.
Skibitsky emphasized that Ukraine is offering partners an intellectual resource, lessons learned under continuous fire.
We are not saying that we are going to participate in missions abroad, editor, in practice. But we offer shared experience, since this threat remains relevant for everyone.
Ukrainians' assistance in countering Shaheds. Earlier, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer stated that his country would involve experts from Ukraine to help Persian Gulf countries shoot down Iranian strike drones. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky noted that he had not received any requests regarding the involvement of Ukrainian experts in countering Iranian drones in the Middle East. Zelensky stated that Ukraine could help Middle Eastern countries destroy Iranian Shaheds if Arab leaders convince Moscow to conclude a ceasefire. The Ukrainian president also offered Ukrainian interceptor drones to Persian Gulf countries. In return, he expects to receive PAC-3 missiles for the Patriot system, which Ukraine is critically lacking. The US Senate did not vote on a resolution to limit President Donald Trump's military powers, which would have prevented him from continuing the war against Iran. Senator John Fetterman was the only Democrat to vote against it. At the same time, Rand Paul was the only Republican to support the resolution. The draft document included a provision to end hostilities against Iran. Democrats emphasized that the US Constitution authorizes Congress to declare war, while Trump and his senior officials have already defined the actions in Iran as war. Today, a similar resolution is to be considered by the US House of Representatives. Senate seeks to block Trump's new strikes on Iran. The US Senate plans to hold an initial vote on blocking President Donald Trump's authority to launch further strikes on Iran. Democrats, along with Republican Senator Rand Paul, are demanding the adoption of a resolution on military powers. However, the initiative faces severe express resistance from the Republican majority. Senator Lindsey Graham said that the president should be allowed to finish the job, referring to the defeat of the Iranian regime after the elimination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. House Speaker Mike Johnson also called the idea of limiting Trump's power dangerous. Even if the resolution passes the Senate, it is unlikely to force Trump to stop the strikes. The president has the right to veto it, which would require a two-thirds vote in both chambers to override. Iran attacked Azerbaijan on Thursday, March 5th. A drone struck Nakhchivan International Airport, according to the report and press service of Azerbaijan's foreign ministry. As reported, a drone launched from the territory of Iran hit an airport building and exploded. Fire broke out at the scene. Witnesses filmed the moment of the attack on video. The country's foreign ministry said another Iranian drone fell near a school building in the village of Shakarabad.
We strongly condemn these drone attacks launched from the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which resulted in damage to the airport building and injuries to 2 civilians.
It noted that the attack on the territory of Azerbaijan contradicts norms and principles of international law and serves to increase tension in the region.
We demand from the Islamic Republic of Iran to provide, within the shortest possible time frame, a clear explanation regarding the case, conduct an appropriate investigation, and take the necessary urgent measures to ensure that such attacks are not repeated in the future.
The Azerbaijani side reserves the right to take appropriate response measures. Iran's ambassador to Azerbaijan has already been summoned to the foreign ministry. The Iranian side will be presented with a strong protest and a corresponding note of protest. Azerbaijan's Ministry of Defense said it is preparing response measures to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country, ensure the safety of civilians and civilian infrastructure. An attack from Iran will not remain without response. Technical parameters of Iranian drones and details of attacks on Azerbaijan are currently being studied. The night of March 5th became a real test for strategic facilities in Russia's Saratov region, according to Russian media. More than 60 powerful explosions were heard over Saratov and Engels, where a strategic aviation airbase is located. While local authorities tried to calm the population, fires broke out in the region and some districts lost electricity. The drone attack began around 11 p.m. and lasted for several hours. According to eyewitnesses, the skies over the cities were lit up by explosions and air defense activity, but strikes could not be completely avoided. About scale, local residents counted at least 60 detonations. Consequences: a large fire broke out in one of Saratov's districts, and firefighters were unable to bring it under control for several hours. Blackout: both Saratov and Engels were partially left without electricity due to damaged transmission lines. Governor Roman Busargin has already called this attack the most massive of the year. According to official data, civilian infrastructure was damaged and 3 people were injured. Main targets: oil refinery and air base. Although the Ministry of Defense of Russia claimed that 48 drones were shot down, Ukrainian monitoring resources reported successful hits. Saratov oil refinery. Reports indicate an active attack on the oil refinery, accompanied by a powerful fire. Engels 2 air base. The city of Engels hosts bases for Russia's strategic Tu-95 MS bombers. Any drone activity in this area is considered critical for Russian aviation operations. The situation in the region remains tense while emergency services continue to clear debris and deal with the consequences of the strikes. Explosions were also reported in Engels and Saratov on the night of February 22nd following an attack by unidentified drones, with witnesses recording fires on video. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.